We never had any kind of relationship. She and her brother disowned their mom for dating me and went to live with her paternal grandparents. Last I saw of them was at the funeral where they made a big scene about not wanting me there, talking about how I'm a terrible person that stole their mother from them. It was my fault she was dead, and a lot of other things. They also raised hell about the will, which is a whole other can of worms. That was 2 years ago, and I've moved on. Recently, however, she has tried to reach out to me through email, wanting to have a relationship. She says she is sorry about the past and that I'm the only family she has left, and it is time we get to know each other. I told her I was not interested and to not contact me again. However, this week she showed up at my door. No clue how she got my address, wanting to talk. She said that since her brother died, she had an awakening and deeply regretted how she acted. I told her she had no right to ask this of me now, that she was a decade too late, and that although I won't hold her behavior as a teenager against her, I also couldn't forgive her for how she treated her mother and to leave me the duck alone, or I would be going to the cops for harassment. After that, she said she was sorry again and left crying. When I told my girlfriend about it, she said that everyone deserves a second chance, and I should forgive her since it was so long ago. I said she's only coming to me because she is lonely, which made my girlfriend very angry for some reason. She told me I was a heartless piece of crap and is now giving me the cold shoulder. Some info from the comments. Why didn't they like you? They didn't like that I was much younger than their mother. She was about 20 years older than me. They had a huge fight after I met them, calling their mom disgusting for dating someone who was only a few years older than them. Even after we broke up, they still didn't want anything to do with their mother and eventually went to live with their grandparents. What are your ages? When we met, I was 18 and my late wife was 35. 2 years later, when I moved to her country, was when we really started dating, and she introduced me to her kids as her boyfriend. They were teenagers at the time, with the daughter being the oldest at 16 and the son was 14. Some more info. Everyone seems to think the daughter was a kid when her mother died, but she was 21 and her brother was 19. I was married to their mother for 4 years, together for 7-ish. Wife did try to work things out with her kids. She broke up with me to focus on them, took them to therapy, talked to them, but nothing worked. The kids also went to live with their grandparents because they wanted. They were always close since the grandparents stepped up after their father died. Grandparents were very rich and had a lot of free time. Wife didn't just agree to that, but the grandparents threatened to sue her. I don't know all the details on that since I only heard about this after it all happened. But wife absolutely despised her ex-in-laws for what they did. Also, please stop calling my late wife a pervert or a predator. She wasn't any of those things. Edit. I see the majority here thinks that I am the a-hole, and while I still think that I was right on telling her off, I believe I might have been unnecessarily rude. I don't think I want to have any kind of relationship with her, but I'll at least try to contact her and apologize for my outburst. Everyone sucks here. I would have been mortified at 16 years old if my mother was dating an 18-year-old. I mean, what she's been through, losing all her family, is worse than what she put you through when she was a teenager. I see your girlfriend's point. She was grieving and chose to reach out to you. Teenagers do stupid things. I cry thinking about some of the things I said and did to my parents as a teenager. But as an adult, nobody holds it against me. There isn't too much detailed info here, and I respect that and don't expect much more. But it's hard to pass definitive judgment. I'm torn because I understand why you're hurt. What I don't get is why they don't like you. Everyone sucks here. She shouldn't have treated you so poorly, but she was a kid, and her mom was apparently dating someone old enough to be her brother. Were you honestly expecting a different reaction? She grew up, lost everyone, realized that she treated you like crap, apologized, and wants to get to know you. That's called personal growth. And you tell her to duck off and you'd call the police. I agree with your girlfriend. You're the a-hole. I have several cousins who ducking hate my guts right now because of my dead great uncle. I'm a 19-year-old female. Just got my military contract a year ago and have just been kind of bouncing around for a while. My great uncle was a 76-year-old man and is the greatest man to ever live. So apparently, my uncle has been sick for a while but didn't tell anyone. He had cancer, and instead of treatment, he wanted to ride it out like a G. I never knew this and just kept visiting him since I knew he was older and helped him out when I wasn't working, cleaning up his house, taking the dogs to the vet and other simple stuff when I had time or would pay for services. He died peacefully in his sleep, but when they read the will, he made me the sole inheritor of everything. His inheritance is worth well over 5.4 mil, not including the house that are now in my name. I honestly didn't know he was wealthy at all, since he just sort of lived in this dirt trailer in the middle of nowhere. He has 6 kids that are all grown up, and his wife, my aunt, died 2 years ago. He wrote a letter with his will, and while I won't type out most of it, pretty much ripping down his kids and called them money-hungry bees that didn't deserve the dog crap in his yard, and called his only daughter, my cousin, a horse-faced W that has children pretty much marching out her legs as much as guys go into them, along with so many more insults that made the lawyer blush. So I inherited everything, and planning his funeral, which is just cremation and dumping his ashes in the Rocky Mountains. But his kids, my cousins, are threatening to sue me for the money and his estate, and saying they deserve it because they are his kids. But he specifically said not to give them crap, or even let them take his stuff. And all the kids lived on his property as well, and he's evicted them all, so they have 30 days to leave their homes, since I now own their houses. They've been threatening my boyfriend, who has been staying out of this, saying that he should correct his woman, or that they will come over and steal stuff from his house. The valuable stuff, of course, like his giant TV and jewelry. While the sister has been calling me nonstop, saying that I better give her something, because she has 8 kids, all little crapheads, and deserves it more since she was banking on her dad's money to help her with money. They were even excited when we went in to read the will, like they had just won the lottery, and I was the only one sad he was actually gone. I'm legit pissed and everything. Those dumb jerks are going to actually try to take me to court with the 3 brain cells they share. If I'm honest, I don't even want anything. I didn't want anything to begin with. I was only there because I'm in charge of his funeral. I was originally going to see if I could split it with them, but because of the way they are all acting, I don't know if I want to. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. This is a lot to put on a 19-year-old. Do not make any permanent decisions right now. Even if you didn't expect or want his estate, he definitely didn't want his kids to profit from it. Don't betray his confidence in you by giving them anything. His lawyer should have made the will contest-proof, and even if there is some daylight there, you have the letter that shows his intent to cut them out. Leave it to your lawyer to handle their threats and any eventual court fights. Follow through with your plans for his funeral and have your lawyer set up some security for his house. Find a property manager to proceed with carrying out the notices to vacate and to find new tenants. Then ask your lawyer for a good financial planner to keep the estate intact while you learn what you need to know to become more involved. Be sure that none of the professionals take advantage of your youth. Lawyer up and get security on the properties, cameras, lights, etc. You want an experienced estate attorney that is familiar with evil family members and how to deal with them. Not the a-hole. Your whole family is the a-hole. It sounds like they were a-holes before, and it's your relative's choice to leave the money to you. Don't give them a penny, and call the cops if the threats get too bad. If they even try to file a lawsuit, if you have even half a decent lawyer, you'll win because it says specifically in his will, you are the sole inheritor. Background. My family has always been well off, and by that, I mean like we would take family vacations 2 or 3 times per year. It's still like that now, but I've noticed the difference in how my family acts now that my, female 27, wife, female 24, and I are married. About 3 weeks ago, my dad booked a trip to Italy. Everyone was excited. The family group chat was lit up for days following the announcement. I called my dad and talked to him for a while, and eventually thanked him for including my wife, who'd always felt left out. There was a slight pause, and he told me that he booked the rest of the available seats on that particular flight, and there was only enough for him, my mother, grandparents, my sister, plus her husband, and me. He booked it without even taking my wife into consideration. Now, I know what a lot of people would think, that it was just a mistake. But I don't think so, given the fact that my wife has been excluded in other ways before. And if it were a mistake, he'd do everything he could to change it before even announcing the vacation. My heart sunk. I looked at my wife, who could tell something was off, and I told my dad to just give my seat to someone else, because if she wasn't included, I wasn't going. In the past, I was able to include my wife myself, but I was tired of us being singled out. They never did that to my sister and her husband. They've always included them as a couple. But when it comes to my wife and I, we've always had to figure our own way into the mix, as if we weren't to be taken seriously. I'm not doing that now, and I drew the hard line in the sand this time. This man had the audacity to say that her and I could book our own flight and just, meet them there. I simply said absolutely not, then hung up. Needless to say, my wife was in tears. She was upset, but she was glad that I was sticking by her. A couple days went by, and we decided to go on our own vacation to a much humbler location. Large rental cabin, with her family, who were all downright amazing. Well, my family found out, and they have not stopped blowing up my phone. My mom called me one night during all this and said that I was being unreasonable, and there's no way I couldn't just book a separate flight and instead book an entirely different vacation with her family. I explained to her that that wasn't the point. That the point was that they have excluded my wife from every family-related event ever since we got married, which always put me in the position to fix it. My mom basically called me crazy, and that I was overthinking a simple mistake on my dad's part. For some reason, I'm starting to think that maybe I am overthinking it, and that I should just talk with my dad to see if excluding my wife was intentional, which was another point my mom brought up. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You're not overthinking it. They're trying to gaslight you, so word doesn't get out about slighting your wife on several occasions. They look petty as duck, and they know it. Not the a-hole. If it was just an honest mistake on Dad's side, why didn't he apologize and offer to fix it? No way that was not on purpose. And calling it overthinking is a pretty common gaslighting tactic by narcissists. You did the right thing, and I hope you'll have a great time with your wife's family. Yours doesn't deserve you. Edited to add, could your family have reasons to treat your marriage as less than? If so, they are even bigger a-holes. Either way, you did nothing wrong. Okay, so my family is well off financially mainly because of generational inheritance. It started with my great-grandfather, mom's side, who owned a bunch of properties and land. Over time, investments kept getting bigger and bigger, and then one of the plots of land was sold for a lot of money, for suburban neighborhoods to be built. We're talking like a mile of land. My family has had steady high income ever since I was born, and I think their deal is the fact that I married a woman, and we're not planning on having a family to pass down anything to. But my sister and her husband have been actively trying to have kids for the past year now, and every time they're around, my parents talk inheritance to some degree. That's just my suspicion, and my wife backs me on it. I feel like when my parents are eventually gone, crap's gonna get ugly. Not the a-hole. Your dad did it on purpose. You did exactly right. Spend time with people who will appreciate your family, not just you. Your parents can be included when they can be respectful to your spouse, and you tell anyone who brings it up in no uncertain terms that exactly. I, 37 female, have been married to my husband, 40 male, for 6 years. We have a 4-year-old daughter together, and I have a 12-year-old from previous relationship. And my husband has an 18-year-old daughter, Mia, from a previous relationship. Mia and I never got along good. I tried my best, but to be honest, my husband has a spiteful ex who filled Mia's head with lies about me. This resulting in Mia and I butting heads often. Along with that, we only got Mia on weekends due to my husband's busy work schedule, and as she got older, she'd rather be with friends. She never really bonded with either of our other children. Mia needed extra money for summer, and we needed a sitter since we would not have childcare for the summer. So we made an arrangement. We needed help watching the children and cleaning and cooking while we worked. We paid her a bit extra because our 4-year-old is still learning with the toilet and needs extra help. The first few days went well, and she was paid as agreed. The next days came by, and I started noticing Mia wasn't cleaning up as she was requested. In fact, the house was messier than when we left. We don't expect just her to clean, but to attend to things our other children were too young to do, which we paid her for. Our 4-year-old is transitioning out of pull-ups, because he does still have some accidents, and I noticed he had a rash, and my 12-year-old admitted to me that Mia didn't listen when he said he had to go potty, and my 12-year-old helped change him. I spoke to Mia about this, and she was very apologetic. The final straw was 2 days ago. I came home late, and Mia was sleeping, and my 12-year-old said she was really hungry that Mia forgot to make dinner. After a long talk with my husband, we decided not to pay her for this week. My husband and I told her this, and she was furious. She said we wasted her time and that she should at least be paid because she tried her best. I explained that she didn't try her best, and she was irresponsible. She said she still put her time in and deserves to get paid. We told her that we wouldn't be, and that was final. She called us huge a-holes for withholding her payment and accused me of giving my husband the idea to. She didn't clean correctly or follow any of our directions to get paid even after being talked to. Am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole. If a boss fires an employee, they don't get to refuse to pay them for the previous week. They can fire them on the spot, but the employee still gets paid for the time they were at work. Period. You don't pay her for an entire week of falling asleep? Was there a reason the 12-year-old didn't wake her? Out of curiosity, what are you paying her for babysitting 2 children, cooking, cleaning the house, and potty training a 4-year-old? At 18, if she did not have experience with kids, she may be on a learning curve. You're the a-hole. If you don't like her work, you should have fired her. Instead, you had her continue working the whole week. You owe her. Also, what are things around your household that your 12-year-old is not old enough to do, but your 18-year-old is? Why can't the 12-year-old make his own food? No wonder she doesn't like you. Your husband is equally as sucky for signing off on this. I feel so gaslighted about the whole situation, so please let me know if I'm in the wrong here. I, male 30, have a wife, female 25, Alyssa, and we have 4 kids together, and they're all girls. Female 6, female 4, female 4, and female 2. All of my daughters are currently a part of beauty pageants, and, well, my wife and I come to realize is a stage mom. I'm not over-exaggerating when I say we spent probably $100,000 a year on pageants for our daughters. I know it's ridiculous, but happy wife, happy life. But recently I'm not really liking the girls being in pageants. It's because I hate some of the glitz pageants she puts them in, and she makes them look 35. And I also don't think it's healthy for our daughters to compete against each other, especially my twin girls. Because, well, she doesn't see it. But when they lose, you can tell they're really hurt. When I bring this up to my wife and voice my concerns, she shuts it down and says, well, I was in these pageants since I was 10 months old, and I'm just fine, and it blessed me with a lot of opportunities, like pay for my college. Or are the girls one day as you learn you can't always win, and plus it teaches them to be humble? I personally believe there's better ways to do so. What really did it for me is I kinda eavesdropped on my wife practicing with my eldest, and my eldest did not want to practice anymore, and I overheard my wife bribing my daughter with $100 if she kept practicing, and of course my eldest did. I confronted my wife about this later, and she told me that I just didn't understand and that it's to motivate her. I then accused my wife that she is living vicariously through our daughter and that it's getting out of hand now. My wife has now been giving me the cold shoulder these past couple of days, and I'm starting to feel bad. I'm starting to think maybe I don't understand it and that I'm being too much of a dad. So I'm wondering, am I the a-hole here, and should I just apologize to my wife? Not the a-hole. Your wife is vicariously living through your daughters. I really wish beauty pageants didn't exist, and it really upsets me when people put makeup on the kids participating, like they aren't beautiful enough in their natural state. You guys need to get into some counseling, and she needs therapy. It's one thing to do it once a year or something for fun, but this is ridiculous. Getting help now may save your children resentment in the future. Not the a-hole. Your wife is giving you the cold shoulder because you hit a nerve. She knows she's reliving her own pageant days through the girls, and she's embarrassed she got caught bribing a 6-year-old with $100. Not a proud parenting moment. Personally, I think the pageant life is a murky world to be pushing your very young daughters into, and you need to decide together if you want to continue. You're the a-hole for waiting this long to step in. You didn't know how your kids were being treated, and you didn't realize how much money was being dropped? It's time to step up. Your wife is spending college fund, house down payment level money, and making your kids her little Barbie dolls. Not the a-hole.